This is our review of the all-new Mercedes GLS. Join us for interesting shots and a very exciting ride. Let's go! So now we go backwards. That's really steep.
Yeah,
Does that fit?
Steep, yeah.
Wow.
Steep.
So that's how you'll let other cars pass by. Wow. That's impressive.
Really?
Everyone's starting to sweat now? In the front, the new GLS has not changed that much if you compare it to the predecessor. Still, it's very upright grille, a very strong appearance, but it already has a design approach with different design lines right here, especially on the hood. New is technology-wise that as standard you get the top multi-beam LED headlamps with 112 LEDs per unit. The new GLS is not only 2 centimeters wider, but also 7.7 centimeters longer. That's 3 inches longer. And now at 5 meters 20 or 205 inches in total. That's 28 centimeters longer than the GLE and also 14 centimeters longer in the wheelbase than the GLE. 6 and 7 seat is the main reason for that you have more space right there. Then in the lower part we got those beauty exhaust tips. The rear ones are on the inside and 4 exhaust tips overall here for this V8 model. The tail lamps, they have this distinct signature now. We see that in the new GLE, even in the small GLB now. And another color variation here for you. This one is a hyacinth red metallic. Or do you prefer this one here in polar white? This one here is this V8 engine, and the interesting thing is, technology-wise, all petrol engines are now mild hybrid. So 48-volt board net. There's either the GLS 450, 3-liter R6 with 367 horsepower, or this one here, the GLS 580, a 4-liter V8 twin-turbo with 589 horsepower. 700 newton meters of torque. And then there's also a diesel side for the European customers, 350D, 3-liter R6 with 286 horsepower, or in the 400D with 330 horsepower. Then another red cover on the inside, and I like this matte wood styling here. Then you can control the seats from here. Seat cooling seat heating available. Steering wheel has been updated if you compare it to the predecessor generation. So you have the column here for the wipers and for the turning indicators. Then for the adjustment of the steering wheel. And the Distronic went here onto the steering wheel. And the gear shifting column right there. The seats, you can see it right there, it's all similar as we've seen in the GLE. And they are also available with Artico full leather red cover, also in different colors. That one would be my tip to keep it animal friendly. Those ones here are, however, at the moment the optional animal equipment, so a lot of €1,000 extra for that. We'll soon also test the comfort of the seat form in general. And another interior, this one here is the Artico seat or MBTEX, depending how the brand name is on the market. This one then is the leather red, so it's not from animal origin, the more animal friendly version, and it feels already quite soft, so it's very good material and also quite durable. It's not too different than from GLE, because they share the same parts here all the way in the front. What's my height? 1.86 m or 6'1". Subscribers will already know it, but we always have a lot of new time viewers. So, and that leaves still a lot of headroom right there, even though this one is already equipped with a panoramic roof. Interior overview, you have a lot of elements, yes, but it's somehow also clean enough, so to say. The top part here is soft touch right there. Hard pack on the front part and soft touch on the top part. Then again, this 2x 12.3 inch setup here now turned on. 2 separate screens, but they dissolve into one area. Then this new vent design, again with the matte wood area there. Climate unit with nice clicking. And it's good that you can still do it while driving. And here, when you put it on colder, you see there's a blue ambient light. And when you put it warmer, there's red ambient light. That's also a very nice feature. But you can also use the voice control to change the temperature, or to have the input, for example, for the GPS. Or there's also this perfume spender that is sometimes annoying me, and then I can just say, "Hey Mercedes,
how may I help you?
Deactivate the perfume."
I'm switching off the air freshener.
So that's a good example, because I would have no idea how to search that in the menu, where that is, and especially for those functions, you can just try the voice input, see if that works then. Other than that, with your right thumb, you can control the infotainment system, but it's also touch, so you can just do it like this. This works. Left thumb then would be controlling the instruments right there. And also the lower touchpad can control the infotainment system, so it's somewhat redundant. In the lower part here also you can slide this big cover open. Then you have the inductive charging pad, the direct smartphone connection for the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, cup holders, which can also be heated or cooled. Then this touchpad, dynamic mode control for the driving modes, and controls for the air suspension. And last but not least, this armrest which flips open and offers even more charging possibilities and at least some more space. Now a closer look to the infotainment system. It's always nice to look at the GPS right here. It's quite responsive, shows a good route right here. Where's Salt Lake City? I need to zoom out just a little bit. Well, I could be a little bit more responsive. It always depends on the web connection too. There's Salt Lake City here and the Great Salt Lake. It's a very nice visualization. There you can get back to the home menu, for example. Phone you can connect via Bluetooth or with a cable then with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And there's a quick access then on the top part when you have connected this, and that's the integration, how it looks like. Or there you go back to the Mercedes menu. The digital instruments are clear to read, and you're also flexible because you can change the contents. You can also change the whole look. There's a trip information. You can also have GPS information in there. That comes also quite handy. The head-up display is a very important option, I think, and this is the best head-up display to see on camera. It still appears smaller, but in real life it is huge. I can tell you really. Rear legroom test. So the legroom has been enhanced if you compare it to the predecessor by about 3.5 inches or 8.7 centimeters, and you definitely see that here. And that's also the big difference GLS to the GLE. So the biggest difference now is here. You can flip those captain seats, and that's not possible in the X7. So they are somewhat less exclusive, less upright, but this is a big advantage that even if you have the captain seat set up, if you pick that one instead of the through bench, you can still flip all of the seats and have a good loading area. So it's definitely pro and contra. So what's clear is when I have the captain seat all the way back, I cannot sit in the last seating row. But now, here on this side, I've put the seat all the way front, maximum in the front, use this middle tunnel and go from here then to the very rear. So that works, and it's also easy, and I think also, especially the kids will just enjoy that. It's somehow like a fun feature. And yeah, I have to squeeze my right leg a little bit in, my left leg, you see here, I can put to the middle part here, so yes, I can sit here as a tall adult. Headroom is no problem at all, by the way. So it does work for 6 or 7 adults, yes, but in a somewhat limited way on the third seating row. So it says that its maximum loading capacity is 2,400 liters or 83 cubic feet. But what does that mean? So first of all, we can also open it with the foot kick open mechanism, otherwise under the logo or with the key. That's the setup here when the last seating row is up, and you can see this is also why it's a GLS and not a GLE. With a GLE, if you have that third seating row option with a GLE, you hardly have any space left. Here, still possible to store some stuff. And the length actually at about 55 centimeters. Just press once and then there we go. And that one flips down. Here we go. And then those captain seats fold all flat. That's pretty cool. And in this vehicle we have the bench that goes all the way through in contrast to the captain seats, and you can see the outside parts are somewhat similar to the captain seats. That's very interesting. And in this vehicle here with the bench that goes all the way through, we also don't have this blind knob anymore. We also have this all button, and this is just available for the bench system. So then you push it in, and then just with one click, all falls flat. You know, they use a different mechanism for the captain seat setup. That's why they couldn't offer it there. Already when you're driving slow, you realize it's a super silent feeling and you have this upright, comfortable seating position. You really feel like being king of the road. But again, you know, not in a bad or super arrogant way, because you rather enjoy, relax. You don't feel the urge to drive fast, even though we do have the V8 here under the hood at the moment. So you can have it at a very low RPM. And we not only have the air suspension, which is like really, you know, offering this air carpet ride, so definitely an air suspension that does offer that. Nowadays, so many air suspension are tuned into a very harsh way to be sporty. They didn't do it here, and I like that. But then, I already want to show you that right now, because that's one of the highlights, the E-Active Body Control. This one here has, you can pick it here in driving mode, the so-called curve mode. And then the car is evening out the G-forces, so to say, by, let's say, playing a motorcycle. And so the car leans in the corner a little bit, and it is somewhat a strange feeling when you're doing, you know, even just a small slalom, because you might also pick that up here on the camera. The car is not tilting to the side, although it has an air suspension. So that's here with the curve mode. And now with comfort mode, which is the softest mode, let's do that again. And there you can see. Do you see it? We definitely, and I also see Holger next to me like, vroom, vroom, vroom. This augmented reality, there you can see again this sign telling me where to go. The front camera gives me an image, and then in the front camera image, there's this sign saying exactly go right there. I think it's a really good system when it's working. We had like some situations in Norway recently with the EQC where we had some intersections where it wasn't working, but my experience from all the roads that were mapped here in the US were so far pretty flawless. There again it is, and yeah, it's a pretty spectacular option, and sometimes it just makes it clearer. For example, now there's a route planned and it goes both ways, because it's a circle, it's a round tour. Now I knew which one, so in which direction the round tour was beginning. Pretty interesting. So we can also test the sport mode. Then the RPMs are turned up higher. The car already shifts down a gear. And then we can show you something of the acceleration. I'll just let the car first roll. There's a speed limit of 65 miles here. And I'll go down to 30 miles and then hammer it. Let's see. Plop. And that was already 68 miles, so I had to reduce the speed now immediately again. That went quite quick, right? And also very harmonious acceleration, all-wheel drive, rear-wheel bias here, since it's a classic permanent all-wheel drive. The V8 does have some sound you could notice, yes. However, it is so well insulated from the cabin, and it's also not a car that has the approach of being super loud in the interior, that it wasn't that significant as for the sound. And here then, when you're cruising on the highway, you would rather go back to the comfort mode. Then when you have the E-Active Body Control, it's not only that it's somehow different in the curved mode, it is already active in the normal comfort mode. So the difference would be that the normal air suspension is really adapting in a way that, you know, just the waves are evened out, that it's always going up and down. And when you have this E-Active Body Control, there's a camera scanning the road surface in front of us and calculating together with the speed, seeing what's coming ahead, and then the suspension goes in before the obstacle. So, you know, like those old movies you've seen with the this hydro-pneumatic suspensions by Citroën or something, that you go with the car even, just straight, and just the wheels are, whoa, whoa, that happened. Must have lost something from the truck or something. But you saw there was a good steering input here, so I could react very well. Yeah, so obviously also good steering feeling from this car. Always nice to test. Yeah, so back to the closing stage of this E-Active Body Control. Really interesting approach. Also that each individual wheel can be controlled, that you can also have like this going up and down when you want to get out of sandbox situations or something. It's also very interesting, definitely. So, and then on the left side here, you can activate the cruise control. Put it up to give it a little bit more speed. And now we're in the cruise control mode. And this head-up display is really so large, it's hardly, you cannot miss it. But it's still not, it's not too distracting actually. It's still okay, although it has a really decent size. Cruise control, of course, really important for staying on the motorway. I really like that. And it also has an active steering function. See here, I'm being kept on the middle of the lane. Of course, it's not intended to be used in the way I'm doing it right now, so please don't do that. Just showing it to you as a proof. You should keep your hands at the steering wheel, where I do, but you should be in control all the time. But you can, let's say, relax maybe a little bit more, and of course never trust 100% in the systems. But so far the experience we had with the assistance systems by Mercedes, they're quite well done. But in general you can say, although this is a quite big car, it feels astonishingly agile. The same was also for the X7, but I really see the difference X7 and the GLS, that the X7 is set on a little sportier tone. The X5 is also even sportier than the X7, yes, but the GLS and also, you know, the philosophy of Mercedes is always a little bit more on the comfort, whereas BMW always sets a little bit sportier tone, and this is also what we could realize with those vehicles. So meanwhile we are down to about 22 mpg, which is still a more realistic figure, and we can like super fast here, but here we have no one in front of us, no one behind us, so we can also do a short acceleration from standstill for you. Let's see. Plop. That was 0 to 60 miles an hour. That went quite quick, didn't it? And also again, although it's such a heavy vehicle, due to the all-wheel drive distribution, was a quite harmonious ride. So, but Holger did get a kick, like an acceleration. Like, as a co-driver, it's always fun, you know, as a driver, you know in which moment you are hitting the throttle. But as for the, you know, your co-passengers, yeah, you never know in the exact second. It's always funny to watch them. Yeah, now we let's do this curve mode again, because we have some more corners coming ahead. And here now again, this is like a very good example. So the car is rather leaning to the inside of the corner, and that reduces the G-force applied to the passengers. That's very interesting. And now we have some off-road driving for you. At the moment I'm still in the normal comfort mode, because that also gives me most comfort when driving off-road. Here again in the V8, and also with the E-Active body control, because that's a very interesting fact for driving off-road. This suspension tries to put all the wheels to the ground, and therefore you also do not need any differential lock at the rear axle, for example, because you would need it when, you know, wheels off the ground and just spinning. But here, since the suspension keeps it all to the ground, you don't need it. That's very interesting. But there's still a mechanical longitudinal lock, so center differential lock, that's available when you go to the off-road plus mode. In the off-road mode, the vehicle would go up from the air suspension. At the moment we do not need that. We are just fine with the normal ground clearance, which is about 20 centimeters, and we could all the way go up to 30 centimeters in the highest off-road mode, or if I use the setting here in the middle console as well. But here, since we are also a little bit faster here, this is not the steepest off-road course. We'll also do some other obstacles very soon, but here so far it's always a little bit more interesting on camera to show you that. And it is, of course, a rough surface, but the good thing is when you have a vehicle with air suspension and drive it off-road, you can somewhat drive off-road in a comfortable way. You know that the Mercedes G-Class is more capable off-road and can do more things probably than this car, but since it doesn't have an air suspension, it's also a little bit rougher to drive it off-road. That looks nice here. So we just go a little bit here on the right side to put a little bit like that. So pick up some flowers on the left side. And now it gets really exciting once again. 3-liter R6, the 6-cylinder, 367 horsepower, so different engine. And I have to say, this is really surprising, because I immediately feel that this one here is the lighter vehicle. So yes, a 6-cylinder is lighter than an 8-cylinder, but I wouldn't have expected that this effect is actually so significant. You immediately feel that it's a lighter vehicle. It's almost like the difference in feeling when you're driving a GLS or a GLE. That's significant it is. So that was really surprising here now to me. It indeed, feels directly like a lighter vehicle. And we'll soon show you also the performance. So of course this one here has less performance, although it's lighter. But then again, it's also something about driving fun, definitely. And I also intentionally picked this vehicle here now without the E-Active body control, just with the normal air suspension. We also have different driving modes here, and I start in comfort. You might remember just from a couple of minutes ago where I did at this slower speed, I did this slalom, and this is like somewhat like in the comfort mode with the other suspension, because they are both the air suspension, just that the base, the base is the same, and the other one then has this additional system on top of that. So when you have those waves, you know, they are a little bit more evened out. But when you go left and right, this is somewhat the same. There you just have the difference that this curve function leans the car inside. Yeah, that is a very cool and fancy function, and we really went in depth on that. However, I have to say, the special thing here about the GLS and also GLE is that it still has a very soft and nice and comfortable air suspension. And here we can do some 30 miles per hour to some 60 or something, 65, let's see, and let's hammer it. Well, that was actually 30 miles to 70 miles. We had a really good fuel consumption, about 33 mpg now. That's something 8 to 9 liters on 100 kilometers, and that's a massive difference to that V8, where we rather had some 20 mpg, so over 10 mpg difference, or almost 4 liters on 100 kilometers difference to the 8-cylinder. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Mercedes GLS. It was definitely a very impressive ride. Exterior styling, I think, is very elegant, although it's quite strong still in the front. I think it works quite well. Just, you know, this rear perspective where the top part is a little bit narrower, the same we found also with the BMW X7. Interior, new build quality, more infotainment, a lot of different very interesting functions, and also different concept as for the captain seats if we, for example, compare it to the BMW X7. In driving, very interesting, a soft air suspension you get, yes, and also this special e-active body control if you want that. Again, as I said, it's not a must-have option, but it's a very interesting technology highlight that you can lean into those corners. But what I also found out that this is not making the ride softer. So, you know, you're leaning inside, you reduce G-force or so, but when you have the normal air suspension, it is somewhat softer then. In this curve mode, you have to think about that the suspension goes lower in a way, and then also, you know, gets a little bit stiffer. Yeah, you have to think about what's more important to you than this very soft carpet ride or more the agility factor. But very interesting for sure. Well, and then if you compare it to the predecessor, this one here now with a more agile ride in any case, this is one big difference, and of course more infotainment on the inside and even more space because it has become a little bit longer. Same as for the GLE difference, the smaller brother here, just more space in the rear legroom area. This is the crucial difference. And from a driving, well, this one, as it has a quite agile driving still for a big SUV, not too much difference, but the more cornery it gets, the more difference there will also be in driving GLE versus GLS. And the final question, X7 or GLS? I mean, both have their unique selling points, somewhat to say. I found that the X7 has a little bit more natural driving fun feeling. That's what, you know, a lot of BMWs are also famous for. Probably I would go here with a standard air suspension if you want the softest, more, you know, air carpet ride. This could speak for that. And of course also some design reasons. The captain seats were actually better in the BMW X7 with the cost of not having the possibility to fold them all flat. So if you think about that. Oh, some rear-wheel driven cars also on some wet roads here. Very interesting. Well, we're up here in the mountains now in Utah. Very interesting. So we also had a lot of altitude change with this marvelous landscape here in the background. We say goodbye for you and for us with the Autogefühl team, Thomas and Holger today. I hope you really enjoyed our episode with all the landscape and all the different car shots. Please give us some feedback and also discuss this vehicle here on Autogefühl. Tune in next time, and also to the competitor reviews. We'll always link a couple of related reviews in the video description and in the comments. Tune into those, and we see us there.